There has been a substantial amount of attention surrounding the newly claimed find beneath the Great Pyramid of Khafra within Giza, and with no substantial reports regarding what could be under the other two yet to surface, opinions regarding the find have so far been divided. And although the claims on the surface may seem outlandish and to many unrealistic, the dismissal that the find is experiencing within not only the public sector but also the academic world is, to us, a very familiar one indeed. And once you learn about the factors which made us particularly interested in the find, characteristics we felt, if our suspicions accurate, would indeed be found, you may look upon this possible new discovery in an entirely and perhaps more profound light. We have long posited that the Great Pyramids of Giza are not simply placed where they are, a spot picked at random, built upon the ever-shifting sands of Egypt, but were in fact meticulously and masterfully planned and executed. What's more, for an ancient civilization sophisticated enough to have created such gigantic and complex structures to such precise specifications, structures they intended to stand for eons, would you not perhaps consider that they would build a foundation? A gigantic stone plateau that in many areas has evidence to be found of it having once been completely artificially constructed. With staircases seemingly placed, carved into and through the plateau, right into its underbelly, at specific locations, the reasons for which as yet unclear. Would you not create a perfectly level stone foundation if you indeed had the ability to work with such enormous stones? A place to sit several structures, each weighing in the realm of 1,000,000 tons, each perfectly constructed, and each planned to sit perfectly level for thousands of years. This, however, raises more questions. One in particular being, why did these structures seemingly need such perfect alignment? What were they aligned with? Was it ancient constellations? Or perhaps for an alignment going far into the earth below? Or perhaps both? Maybe these structures were indeed built from the top down, not literally, but with an eye to their function. It is only over the last few decades that we have begun to understand just what sort of an enormous undertaking the Great Pyramids were. And perhaps we are only seeing a fraction of their true size, for it is only with scanning equipment and the centuries of deterioration that the structures have experienced that we have started to see just what sort of size stones are within its exoskeleton. As if these feats deliberately hidden, buried, and concealed by its original builders, just like their true function and indeed their true size. And with an anomaly reportedly drilled some 2 kilometers into the earth below, one has to wonder what these things could be. Could they be generating some form of energy field, or even manipulating factors of reality itself? Interestingly, an international research group investigated the electromagnetic response of the Great Pyramid to radio waves. Scientists predict that under resonance conditions, the Pyramid of Khufu can concentrate electromagnetic energy inside its internal chambers, and perhaps more interestingly, from under its base. The research group plans to use these results to design nanoparticles capable of reproducing similar effects in the optical range. The study was published in the Journal of Applied Physics. The research implies that the pyramids themselves may be focusing specific forms of light, and just like a legend out of Lord of the Rings, may one day be found to be beacons, the secrets of its function hidden within the symbology of the occult and mainstream society for years. Its specific coordinates established on maps far later, not a coincidence, as if the eye of providence, the light within one's head, projected forth, defined and created by the observer, a reality far from real. One built rather on concepts such as infinity rather than solid truths, yet one we find ourselves in today. Yet, I digress. What is this thing hidden beneath the Great Pyramids? Are there more? Why are there these structures on nearly every continent? Why were they hidden for millennia? Do the powers that be know what the Great Pyramids truly are? Is it merely just a matter of time before this truth is established beyond doubt? Was this news merely released now to set us on the right track, knowing this realization inevitable? We will keep you posted on further developments surrounding this newly claimed discovery. We find the possibilities highly compelling.
Since the rediscovery of what is unquestionably the most puzzling, astounding, and enigmatic site on Earth, the Great Pyramids and the Sphinx of Giza, we have been led to believe that what could be described as an astonishingly accurate, yet somewhat vandalistic later addition, was once put there by a caliph named Al-Ma'mun. Now popularly known by its coined title, Al-Ma'mun's Forced Entrance. This title, although argued as his work, has a pretty compelling tale attached to its possible original purpose. When one actually looks into what an incredible achievement this tunnel once was, it becomes apparent that it was cleverly bored by an ancient people, far more advanced than a 9th century caliph. Additionally, possible hypotheses have been put forth as to its origins by individuals who may have known of entrances into the pyramid. We in the modern world have either lost knowledge of or have been prevented from knowing about their existence. Hinged doorways made of stone, perfectly counterbalanced to allow an average-sized man to open and close them. Doorways along the structure's north face that, when closed, become seemingly indistinguishable from its surroundings. Are there still secret entrances along the pyramid's northern side? Quote, "The Great Pyramid, a little way up on one side, has a stone that may be taken out, which being raised up, there is a sloping passage to the foundations." End quote. Written by Strabo in Pyramids and Temples of Giza, Flinders Petrie. Yet regardless of these additional, highly compelling investigative leads put forward in addition to an explanation for the tunnel's existence, its remarkable accuracy remains a tough thing for supporters of academia's tale of events to explain. As author Ralph Ellis puts it, quote, "The main problem with the classical explanation was that Ma'mun's tunnel is rather too accurate for comfort. It tracks into the pyramid in a direct line for the all-important junction between the descending and ascending passageways. It is often cited that Ma'mun had to turn the tunnel sharp left to discover the original passageways, a fact that Ralph had in the back of his mind when they first visited the Great Pyramid. But he ambled down the forced tunnel, rather mystified, because the left turn cited in the literature could not be found. Having backtracked the tunnel and to try again, that left turn seemed to be no more than a slight widening of the tunnel. In fact, the digging was almost right on target." End quote. For how does one know where one is when deep within the passages of such an incredibly huge ancient structure? Secondly, if instead argued as having been started from without, the same problem has to be solved. For how did one know how to create the initial angle? Although it is now the most used entrance, and although it has been drawn upon countless plans, to draw an existing tunnel's precise line of descent is far more easier than to have created said precise angle in the first place. And within the Great Pyramid is the remaining half of what has often been used to create a compelling, possible explanation for this tunnel's original purpose. Known as the sarcophagus of Khufu, an anomalous object found within the pyramid, an artifact we have covered in the past. No one can explain how this giant stone object came to be within the pyramid. It would not have fit through the existing entrance tunnels. However, at some time in the pyramid's life, someone smashed into this stone box, took its past contents and the sarcophagus lid, an object that would also have not fit round the turns of the existing tunnel system, yet would have fit through the forced tunnel, and due to the vandalistic nature of the tunnel itself, could be argued that this damage to the sarcophagi was inflicted by the same group of individuals who built the tunnel, one used to extract the so-called sarcophagus's lid. Is this the real past purpose of the tunnel? And if created by a caliph in the 9th century, how did he tunnel so accurately on target? And additionally, where is this lid now? Was this tunnel, like the many different layers of casing stones indicate, built by a later yet also lost civilization, one who flourished far before even the ancient Egyptians? We find the evidence to suggest such highly compelling. There is a huge and baffling array of historical anomalies still hiding across the Giza Plateau. Melted steps, melted stone, melted sand, megaliths of gigantic, almost impossible proportions, and so on. Yet one of the most intriguing of all these peculiar unexplained relics must be those which have an extraterrestrial origin. There are undoubtedly many secrets still contained in, around, and beneath these gigantic structures, chambers which, when opened, experience media blackouts, only to return to report that said tomb was looted earlier in its life and was apparently found empty. The real question, then, is what are the Egyptian antiquities hiding? Could there be more artifacts or objects with extraterrestrial connections still to be found? In particular, within Cheops itself. King Tut's dagger, which was once struck from metals with alien origins, may just be one piece in a set. Rumors abound in regards to the possible existence of an entire throne attributed to Khufu himself, which was not only made from the same alien materials, but could still be hidden within the Great Pyramid. Professor Giulio Magli of Milan Polytechnic, for example, believes the throne of the pharaoh Khufu is concealed in a secret chamber deep within Cheops itself. Quote, "There is a possible interpretation which is in good agreement with what we know about the Egyptian funerary religion as witnessed in the pyramid's texts. In these texts, it is said that the pharaoh, before reaching the stars of the north, will have to pass the gates of the sky and sit on his throne of iron." End quote. Now, thanks to scanned pyramids and the use of penetrative technologies, a new mystery chamber is in the crosshairs. Currently designing an inflatable robot to explore the space, the robot can be pushed into empty spaces via a 1.5-inch keyhole drilled into the wall, then inflated into a blimp-like drone. Lead researcher Dr. Jean-Baptiste Moret told Digital Trends, quote, "The main challenge is to insert a complete exploration robot in a hole that is as small as possible." End quote. The question remains, where did all this meteoric material originate from? Was there a catastrophic event in our past, one responsible for not only these materials, but the number of other melted artifacts within Giza? Although only speculation at the moment, but the possible existence of the throne is, no doubt, highly compelling.